Let's talk about keyboard shortcuts in Plasticity using this model of Luke's lightsaber from episode 6 that I made a few days ago. Let's start with something simple. That's basically navigation. So numbers 1 to 4 allow us to select the various entities that are selectable in Plasticity. So 1 is vertices or control points, as you can see here. 2 is edges or curves. This is a separate curve, but I can also select edges here freely. 3 is faces. 4 is objects, and you might be wondering why it's not selecting a whole lightsaber. It's because these are technically separate solids. 5 allows us to select everything, but you probably don't want to do that because that's complicated. I honestly never do it, so up to you in the end. F is another useful one. It opens up the tools menu, and from here, if you don't know a specific keystroke, you can learn it or assign it from this menu here. G moves stuff, so you can see it brings up the gizmo. We can move real easy. If we hit G twice, so GG, we can move freely. If we press G followed by F, we can actually select any point and use that as a snapping vertex to make more precise movements. Control Z obviously goes back in history, but what about something a little more interesting? How would you create an extra mirror plane in Plasticity like you would, for example, in Fusion 360? Well, let's take this as an example. Let's take this battery block, I guess, whatever that is. So I'm going to select this face. I'm going to select this other face, and then Shift Space creates a new plane. Technically speaking, you can create a new plane just by pressing space. So if I do it again, I hit space, it does create a new plane. However, unless you save it by clicking here, you can see it added the custom plane. So I have to re-click it to move it again. You got a few steps to go through, so I prefer the shift space because I can just see it and orbit around freely. Let's go to object mode. Shift D duplicates the whole object or the whole solid. Alt X mirrors that across the current origin, either X, Y, or Z direction. You can see if I do that, it mirrors that direction. If I do that, it mirrors in that direction. If you click this twice, it's going to create some weird stuff. So usually you want to do it just once, but there is something real cool going on here, because if I hit Alt X and then X, it's going to automatically use the X axis to mirror. If I use Shift X after pressing Alt X, then it's going to use the other one. You can see what I did before was mirroring the side with the buttonholes. Now it's mirroring the other one. Then we got P to create pipes. I'm going to select an edge, and you always want an edge or a curve. Actually, let's select this curve with P, and we can create pipes. Super easy. Change the thickness. We can change the vertex count. Super cool. If we have two curves intersecting, so for example, let's make another one here. We can use T to trim any curve past an intersection point, something like that, and something like that. What if we want to create a negative of a specific solid? Let's try here. Let's zoom in. If I select this face, then Control Shift equal to increase the selection. Let's actually get out of render mode so it's a little easier to see. I have these selected, so let's do it again. Select one face, Control Shift equal to increase, then increase again, then Alt D will create what is called an alternate duplicate that is basically the negative of that form, and we can just use it ideally later as a stencil to create more holes. Control D, on the other hand, is the place command, so you can select any point here and snap, then place it wherever you want. What about here? Something like that. Escape to get out of that. And then why don't we select this whole object? I have solid mode selected. Hit Q to Boolean, and then that new object to remove. Or if you wanted to, we could merge it, but I am going to remove it. So hit W again. Control R is isoparam. Let's say we want to create a new face here by splitting this. Then selecting the face and hitting Control R allows us to access the isoparam command. By holding Shift and scrolling up or down, we can also change the number of these new lines. We can snap to the center. And now we have created how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 equal divisions on this face. Selecting a face and pressing E allows us to extrude. You can technically just push, but it is different. Extrude will always extrude along the normal, unless you decide that you want to extrude in a specific direction, like, let's see, this, then selecting this face. And what if we still want to extrude vertically after we rotate this face? So we rotate the face. If I hit E now, you can see it's going to extrude in that direction. But if I hit E and then F, I can select an edge. Let's select this vertical edge and push to extrude in that specific direction. If you've seen my panel lines video, you know that by creating a new curve, and then let's move it away so we can see it, going to an orthogonal view and then hitting Shift I, we can actually imprint this to any object. And then, hey, why don't we select this, hit P, make a pipe so we can remove that. Super cool. Last but not least, we can offset faces. So we hit O, we can offset the outer edge, even if we have the face selected, and boom, we have made this hollow now. Oh, before I forget, there is something that I really want to talk about. And if I select this whole object, hit F and then write red, R-A-D, it's going to bring up delete redundant topology, and that's useful to get rid of the extra lines that you might have if you use commands like imprint or isoparam, for stuff that you don't need. So clicking that removes it. But that's pretty much it for the keyboard shortcuts that I always use in Plasticity that help me work 10 times faster versus not using them. If you enjoyed the video, hit the thumbs up and subscribe for more. As always, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.